Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today we are speaking about the word question. That is a thinker, and luckily I have James here who's gonna help us think about this in a whole new way. Oh, I'm so excited about this. So, James, thank you so much for coming onto my show and sharing your time and your perspective with me. I'm really excited to hear your thoughts on this. So we're gonna just dive right in. When you hear those words, the word question, what does that make you think about?
Okay, well, let me start this way. First off, I'm the author of the book, Planet Storyland. Can you see it?
Mhm.
Okay. And what prompted me to write the book was a question. And the question was, what would a kid from another planet think about how we live?
Ooh.
And so, as I began to write more and more of this story, the word question was being used throughout because there is dialogue between the father and son.
Okay, okay. And I think that's interesting. I mean, just the fact of what would somebody think about when they come into our universe, that comes into our world. I mean,
Yeah.
I love that's what inspired you to write this book because I am one that loves to take what ifs and twists and turns and that creativity and imagination and allow it to really blossom into something beautiful. So, what does this child think about this world?
Actually, the kid wants to come here because, see, the people on his planet
Mm-hmm.
and the people on Earth, they look exactly alike.
Hmm.
Except for that, on their planet, they're living happily ever after while we're, fussing and fighting. So he wanted to come down here and see, like, if this is really true how we live because it's different on his planet.
Oh, and what made you go in that direction of a planet where it's happily ever after, kumbaya versus exploring our planet the way that it is?
It was just a question that I always had. I just wondered, if there was anybody that ever came from another planet, what they would think about us.
Yeah.
And so one day I decided to sit down and write about it. Um, but um, one of the major themes in the story is about questioning. And see, when we think of the word question, we don't really think about the word. We just think about where are my keys? How do I get over here? Um, what's your name? Um,
Mm,
what am I going to do with my life? You
yeah.
only really think about getting the answer. You don't really think about the word question, which is the um, the title behind your questioning.
Ooh, I
Okay,
like that.
and so the other thing is that we're only taught the definition of what a question is and the pronunciation, which the way they write the pronunciation is so much different than the word itself. The
Yeah.
pronunciation is spelled KWES and then CHEN, question.
Huh.
That's the way they show us how to pronounce that word, which is really odd because those letters are different than the letters in the word question.
Yes, and I love how you talked about we don't really think about the question. We don't think about the word. We just think about our answer and what we want out of it or whatever that we're seeking. You know what I mean? We don't
Yeah,
really take into consideration everything that made us wonder what it is or what that object is or what is going on the opposite end. I mean, there's really no desire to really know the backstory. They just want to know, oh, the immediate answer. And I think just knowing all of it really helps people understand why that word is the way that it is. I mean, like the reason why certain words are the way that they are is because they come from Latin, they come from Greece, they come from ancient, you know what
Yes.
I mean, wording. So it has a bigger meaning because now in our day and age, we have made it so simple to think and so simple to react that we don't even know the in-depthness that really takes to even make a word, or you know what I mean, or what created
Yes,
these words. You know what I mean? So
that is true.
it allows us to really wonder, you know what I mean, in a different way that people don't really want. It's about like getting deeper, you know what I mean? Instead of being
And
on
that's
the
what we're
surface
supposed
level.
to. Yes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, the way I break down the word is not the way it is in the dictionary, because when they break down the word, they break it down into Queus and then Tion. But see, the way I break it down is Quest and then I and then on. So it's quest I on.
Mm.
Because actually, whenever you have a question, you're really on a quest to
Yeah.
get whatever it is that you're wondering about.
Oh, that's so nice. So you were inspired to write this book by that question of what it would be like for somebody that's not from this earth to come to this earth. How would they see it? How would they experience it? Would they breathe the same way as we breathe? Would they feel the same things as we feel? I mean, would they I mean, they could look like us, but at the same time, would they wear the same clothes as we do? I mean, for that other planet, how did you make it very different but very similar at the same time?
Well, actually, excuse me a moment. I didn't really talk much about the planet.
Oh,
I
okay.
really was focused more on the kid whose name is Quentin Augustine.
Mm.
And his desire to come here was so strong that his parents well, his mother was just like, absolutely not, you're not going there, because the people on earth are aliens. That's the way she looked at it. And his father was saying, well, I think I'll just talk to him about it, just give him the benefit of the doubt and make sure he understands what it is that he's read in this book about us, because
Hmm.
that's where it all stemmed from. He had walked into a library one day and came across a book that said Earthlings, and that's where he learned about us. And
Mm.
so he took the book home, and after he read it, he was just shocked. It's like there's just no way that there could be people that look like us that live like that. And
Yeah,
so he wanted to come here, and his father decided to have a long discussion with him about it. So there was a lot of
back and forth.
questions and answers. It's just back and forth like that.
Oh, I love that.
So the interesting part about the word question is that a lot of things that were invented. Let's say, like, if someone wanted to invent light,
Hmm.
a light bulb or something like that, they'd have to figure out how to generate the electricity. They'd have to figure out a conduit that leads from the electricity, and then they'd have to create a light bulb. And
Hmm.
that whole time, they're just constantly questioning their actions, trying to make light. Okay,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
it went on for like days, weeks, months, years, until they were finally successful in creating light, generating electricity, and then creating light.
Mm.
And it was their determination and their respect for their questions that led them to succeed in creating light.
Yes, I like that. I like how you are able to put it in a sense that other people can really think about it. You know what I mean? Because like your example of light, of trying to figure it out, you have to have that wonder. You have to have that curiosity. You have to have some sense of problem solving in your mindset to really be like, I
Yeah.
have a problem. I am in the dark. How do I solve it? I bring light. Okay, how do I bring light? How do I contain the light without burning everything up? Or you know what I mean? Like there's so many
Yes. Yes.
aspects that
Right. Yes, it
comes to it.
is.
There's it's like it's not just one question, it's many questions. And I think
Yes, it
that's
is.
the thing that people don't realize is that when you have one question, that opens the door to a vast, like it's an
Yes.
ocean-filled variety of questions. Like you can go
Yes.
to the biggest library and see all of those books and just think, oh, all of these people who have written a book in this place have had a question, had a
Yes.
thought, had a
Hmm.
wonder, had that curiosity. And I think that's beautiful because what it's like it makes you realize like what have I been questioning? You know what I mean? Like what have I been curious about? You know what I mean? So it's just like for
Yeah.
you, when did you realize that you were questioning the world, questioning your surroundings, questioning everything around you?
Oh gosh. I would say that when I was writing the book, um, and I'd read it back to myself, I'd
Hmm.
find all these holes in there. You know,
Hmm.
it it was kind of interesting in a sense that I thought that it was a simple question. I
Hmm.
really thought it was a simple question. And it took me 30 days to kind of like write what they would call a rough draft. I
Yeah.
wasn't even thinking of it as a rough draft. I was just thinking of I'm writing, the answer to this question. And then when I read it back to myself, I saw so many holes in my thinking.
Hmm.
So it made me go further into like, what are you actually saying here? Because
Yeah.
if somebody else reads this, they're going to seem a little, confused about what are you trying to say here, James? And so I had to continue just rewriting it, and it kept expanding. And it took me 7 years to write that, the answer
Wow.
to that question.
Oh, but it's true. I love it though. I mean, it's so real because when we don't realize that when we ask a question and then we get the answer or we provide the answer to that question we're stumbling on, and then we allow time to shift our perspective and then we come back to it, we realize that yes, we are missing, there's gaps. Wait, you know what I mean? Because you get
Yes,
a fresh perspective and you're like, oh wait, but we need to add this or we need to add this explanation.
yes.
There needs to be this. I know exactly what you mean because I'm writing a novel. And in my novel, every time I go back to
Ooh,
it, I'm in a fresh space. Like I'm like, oh wait, I need to add this. Like you see the scenario, you see everything, and you're like, wait, but it's not here. So let me add it in. Let me make sure it's there. If like, because like you said, like if somebody else looks into this, what are they gonna see? They're gonna see holes. They're gonna see missing parts, or
yes,
put in the missing parts from their own perception. And people don't realize like somebody else's perception looking into your world, they are not always going to understand what's happening in your world because they don't see it the
yes,
way that you see it. So they may see it in a negative perspective, or they may see it in like an inconclusive, or you know what I mean, like
yes,
morbid, or you know what I mean, so many different ways to go about it.
yes,
Or they just may dismiss it altogether and say this is nonsense, it means nothing,
yes,
it holds
right,
no value. You know what I mean? So it's just like
yes,
everything's all on the person, you know what I mean? Perceiving life, perceiving it, because the world is subjective. We all are perceiving things in our own ways. So when you ask questions, and you write them down and like in a notebook or a
yes,
piece of paper, like you write down your answer and then you come back to it, you realize that you
yes,
can expand more off of it and you can add more off to it. So that's what I love it that you shared that part because it allows people to realize that you may have a masterpiece in your hand. You may have
yes,
something beautiful of a thought, of a
yes,
theory, a hypothesis, you know what I mean? Whatever that it may be, but it's just like don't dismiss it too soon. You know what I mean? Like you could be
yes.
so close, but you won't ever actually see it if you dismiss it like everybody else. So it's like what kept you going to keep writing in those 7 years that didn't discourage you to just let it go?
Oh, well, um, I had decided that either I was going to write the answer to this question and complete it, or I was just going to forget about writing altogether and just be an employee at a company.
Mm.
You know, because there's one thing to have an idea and announce it to somebody and say, I'm going to write a book, or I'm going to go to school and learn to be a lawyer or something like that. But it's another thing to actually sit down and do it. And so it was it the only thing I could think of is that you're either going to get this right or you're just going to dismiss it. And I can tell you there were so many times that I carried one piece of paper with me, and I would scratch out the words, and then I'd go rewrite it again and then carry that one with me. And then I'd read it back to myself. It is just a daily thing, daily,
Yeah.
rearranging the words, taking couples of sentences and putting them in other places. And um, it was, see, after a while, it became fun, frustrating, but fun, because I wasn't giving up and I knew I was getting somewhere, but I just kept wondering, it's like, when am I going to be able to make it flow?
Mm.
And um, I would not only read it to myself silently and read it out loud, I would also let the computer read it to me
Yeah. Yeah.
to help me.
Hmm.
And so that was, there was just, I wasn't going to quit. I think what it is that once I had realized that that was my passion, that was what my purpose was, that
Yeah.
there was no denying myself, because that was myself right
Yes.
there.
Yes. Oh, yes, James. Yes. Thank you for saying that, because people do not realize like we have something inside of us that will motivate
Yes.
us and will keep us going. And we also have
Yes.
something inside of us that will kill our dreams, and that's doubt. And that will kill our dreams,
Yes.
fear. And that will kill our dreams, and that's insecurities. And that will kill our dreams, and that's comparison. And it's like when we allow all of those things to kill who we are and that purpose that we go after that makes no sense, it's like that's when you need to keep going. If it makes no sense to nobody else, make it make sense for yourself. You know what I mean?
Yes,
And it
absolutely. And that
sounds
was
like
the whole
that's what
thing.
you did.
Make it
Yeah.
make sense to myself. And once
Hmm.
it did, I was like, wow, this is cool. This is really cool. All these years that I've been living, I finally found something. So, just to take that word question a step further, see, when I began to write the book, I had a question. Well, see, we actually start with questions way early on when we're like infants in the crib. We're
Yeah.
trying to figure out how to roll over, how
Hmm.
to crawl over to the rails of the crib and pull ourselves up. We're constantly trying to do things, and we're trying to think of how to do it. So those are questions in itself. And I think what people don't what I want people to realize is that their questions that they have, that is their guide for life. That
Hmm.
is where, when they wonder how they're going to make it, questions are personal to us, to each individual. And that is like their treasure map.
Yes.
Each question that they answer, it's like flipping over a piece of the puzzle that leads to where the X is, that is their buried treasure. But they just need to, the best analogy I can give you is like this. Let's say if you're given a puzzle and it doesn't have a picture on it.
Hmm.
And so you open up the box and you got to try and piece the pieces together to make
Hmm.
the picture. Well,
Hmm.
see, some people have big pieces, okay? And they're able to put theirs together early. So some people, they figure out their passion in life at a young age. Whereas some people have a lot of small pieces, and it may take them almost until they're like a senior.
Oh, I love that.
Okay.
I love that.
But what the bigger part of it is that, all right, so it's not really a puzzle in a box. What it is a puzzle in your mind. And every time you answer your question, you flip over a piece that gives you a view of that big picture or that treasure map that is going to lead you to X that marks the spot, which is where your buried treasure is. That's where everything opens up to you. And then all of a sudden, the world is really magical and beautiful, and you feel protected, and you just feel like, this is great now. This is great. Before I
It
was
is.
confused, but now it's great.
Oh, I love that puzzle analogy. I am gonna take that and run with it now because oh my God, that's beautiful. Because it's funny that you said that because I seen somebody do a puzzle not realizing that it had colors like it was part of a bigger picture. So they did the puzzle on the backside. Everything was just blank.
Whoa.
And they didn't realize that it actually had color until somebody was like, why do you have it backwards?" And the person was like, "What do you mean it's backwards? Like there's just nothing there." I mean, and then the guy was like, "No, a puzzle reveals something and you didn't reveal anything. It's just blank. You probably have it wrong." So he takes a piece of paper and flips it and then he reveals this beautiful portrait. And the lady was like, "Oh
Whoa.
wow. Like I didn't know that." You know what I mean? And it makes it real because how many times have we done this? You know what I mean? How many times have we looked at our lives and not see the picture? How many times have
Yes.
we connected our pieces, not realizing that it's something bigger? And that's what I love. And also when you talked about how some people have bigger pieces, so they know their purpose early. Oh my goodness, yes. And we get stuck with those people because it's like, how can they know and I don't know?
Yes.
And then the fact
Right.
that you were like,
Yes.
because ours is smaller. Oh, James, 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 James. That is so true because there's so many people out there looking at all these other people that have all their completed puzzles and they're like big puzzle pieces, like if they were like for toddlers, you know what I mean? Not realizing that
Yes.
ours is complex, ours is like special, and when we reveal that beautiful piece, it's like the your background, it's like the universe, you know what I mean? Like more comes out of it, you know what I mean? But we don't
Yes.
allow ourselves to even
Yes.
get to that point because once we do the corner, we're like, oh, we're done. You know what I mean? We give up on ourselves. We give up on our purpose. We give up on our dreams because we're looking at so many other people, and their puzzles and not realizing that we have something greater within us. So yes, I love that analogy. Oh my goodness, I love that analogy because it really puts things into perspective because you can really ask yourself like when did I stop? Why did I stop? How come that
Yes.
I
You
stop?
could.
You know what I mean? Where am I looking at it wrong? Maybe you just need to shift it in a different angle. Maybe instead of looking at horizontally, you need to look at vertically. You know what I mean? Like we don't know until we allow ourselves to take that walk, to allow ourselves to have that 360 perspective on the question, on our curiosity, on our
Yes.
problems. You know what I mean? And I think
Yes.
that is so beautiful because people really do need to think about the questions in their lives and realize that maybe you have the answer. You know what I mean? Maybe you already
Well, they
know.
do. They do if they pursue their questions as though they are going to find buried treasures, though there is gold, silver in a treasure chest there waiting for them. They have to know that their questions are personal. That is their guide in life. That is the one thing that's why to me that word question is so like um, it's surprising that it's just so overlooked
Yeah.
because that is our guide in life. Our questions, my questions are different than yours. We may have some similar questions, but for the most part, my questions are very personal. And
Oh,
so, as long as I keep pursuing those, eventually it's going to lead me to where I say, oh, wow, this is cool.
yeah.
I'm glad I kept going.
Yes, and you have that moment of like, I did it. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
People don't realize when you finish a book, like, because I'm just finishing my fourth children's book right now, and I
Whoa.
just finished the illustrations, and I just finished a book trailer,
You
and
did the illustrations?
no, I went to
Oh.
I outsourced that. Oh honey,
Okay.
I'm not that creative. I cannot draw to save my life. Like
But
I
at
could.
least you knew what to do.
Yeah, I found somebody and they were able to
Yes.
bring my vision to life, and it was a beautiful moment because it's like this sense of relief, like, oh, I'm done. You know what I mean? Oh, it's ready for the world. You know what I mean? So I'm starting that
Yes.
publication process. So it's just like it's a beautiful thing to feel, to know that I didn't give up on myself, so that one day somebody can grab this
Yes.
book, read it, and realize they don't have to give up, they don't have to stop, they can make their dreams real. And that's what you did with your
Yes,
book.
they can.
And it's so beautiful. And man, James, I'm so sad because time is catching up to us. Like I could feel like I could keep talking to you for hours on end. But what can be some lasting words that you can leave us off with to keep on thinking?
Okay. I would say take out a pen and paper and let your questions be your guide.
Oh, that is deep. Let your questions be your guide. And I think that's a real a stepping stone for anybody who's just confused or don't even know where their sense of direction is.
Yes,
And I think like
Mitzi.
if you have a
Yes.
notebook and label it questions or whatever, or just a cue so that people nobody has to know. It could be your cue
Yeah,
book, you know
right.
what I mean? Where you write all your
Yes.
questions, leave a space in between your each questions, and then allow time to answer those. You know what I mean? And allow
You
your perspective to discern what those questions mean, what they mean to you. Because it's like you said earlier, everything's subjective. We all will perceive things differently. But it's like when you put that down and you say that this is what I stand for, this is what I know, and this is what it means for me, that's where you develop values, that's where you develop morals. Oh Lordy, you really
Mitzi,
find
but you
yourself.
said something amazing.
What
You
I say.
just came up with a product. You just came up with a product.
Oh, that's
The
true.
Q book.
Right?
You said
Right?
it. I'm just letting you know what you said.
I love it. I know because it's
Can you
true.
imagine? Can you imagine? A lot of
I,
people would buy that.
right?
The Q
Just a
book where
start.
they do their writing in.
I know that's a good one. Ladies and gentlemen, don't listen to it. No kidding.
Did you say it's mine? I said
No
it.
kidding, no kidding. It's all good. Oh, but yes, this is great information. And ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did, go check out James, go check out his book, go check out his website. I have access to his link in the description. If you're listening audio, you'll find it, click it, bloop, goes right there. If you're on my YouTube channel, click it, it's in the description, or if you're on my website, find his photo. And it goes directly to his website. So many different ways for you to find James. There's no excuse for you to not keep thinking. You know what I mean? So, with that being said, always keep thinking, you guys, and never stop asking those questions. Bye.